He's demonic, diabolical, and literally the son of Satan. Yet for all that evil, Daimon Hellstrom is actually a decent dude. This is the story behind Marvel's most unlikely King of Hell, set to enter the MCU with his very own Hulu series, Hellstrom, in 2020. The 1970s were a spooky time for Marvel. After decades of censorship forbidding stories of the supernatural, a few cracks had started to appear in the comics code, and Marvel was quick to capitalize. With new titles like Werewolf by Night and The Tomb of Dracula, they were drawing horror fans into their universe, and it was going well enough that Stan Lee came up with an idea that would take the genre to new heights. Or lows, as the case may be. If people liked reading about Dracula, why not go all the way to the biggest bad guy of all time?
Oh, I don't know. Could it be Satan?
Lee's idea was called The Mark of Satan, a comic that would star the devil himself, which would have been interesting, but pretty difficult to sell to kids on a lunchbox. Editor Roy Thomas convinced Lee that people just wouldn't buy a comic featuring Satan as the main character, even if he was the bad guy, like Dracula had been in the first few issues of his comic. Instead, Thomas proposed the comic featured the devil's half-human child, who, in classic Marvel style, could be torn between his demonic powers and his life on Earth. Lee loved it, and so the Marvel bullpen set to work. The son of Satan was given the completely unsubtle name Daimon Hellstrom and made his debut in 1973's Ghost Rider #1. We're about to go deep into the weeds of comics, so strap yourself in. Sometimes in the world of Marvel, things aren't quite what they seem, especially when it comes to demons. Such is the case with Daimon Hellstrom, whose father is less the Satan and more a Satan. See, in the Marvel Universe, hell is ruled by committee, which anyone who has spent a lot of time in meetings will tell you sounds pretty accurate. The Hell Lords promote the idea of a singular Satan who reigns over them all, but actually acts as a group. Different versions of Hellstrom's origins get a little fuzzy on the details. Each Hell Lord might have their own version of hell, and there really might be an actual Lucifer running around out there. But for now, there's one demon directly responsible for Daimon, an ancient creature named Marduk Kurios, who is ruler of at least one realm of hell. Daimon didn't actually know who and what his father was until he came across his mother's diary as an adult. He later rejects his father's offer to battle against humanity and in fact begins aiding humanity's fight against the forces of hell. Talk about a turnaround. When it comes to Marvel's demonic characters, their powers are often pretty inconsistent. One thing that does seem to hold true is that they're exponentially stronger in their own realm. Hellstrom, who is actually a ruler of his particular dimension of hell, is a prime example. In his own fiery underworld, his power is nearly infinite. Outside of his dimension, well, he has superhuman strength and speed, but he's not going to beat Hulk in an arm wrestling match anytime soon. Fortunately, he has some other talents to rely on, and also wields a trident made of netheranium, a psychosensitive metal found in hell that can amplify his abilities. Perhaps most uniquely, Hellstrom can control Soulfire, a power that burns one's very soul. It can be blasted through his trident as an attack. He has also spent a good amount of time studying the darkest arts of sorcery, because really, why not just throw some wizard powers on top of being the devil's kid, just in case you really need to burn something to the ground. As for what he's burning, Daimon's biggest fights have been exactly as demonic as you might expect, as he frequently finds himself defending humanity from his father's side of the family. While inheriting rulership of a hell dimension has occasionally led him to team up with devilish villains for the greater good, it's also made them his most frequent sparring partners, as he's one of the few standing in the way of demonic big bads like the Dread Dormammu. The Defenders may not get the mainstream buzz that the Avengers enjoy, but there are several iterations of the scrappy team that could stand up to Earth's mightiest heroes. Usually, though, they're a little too busy handling the weirder threats to the Marvel Universe. You'd think with Doctor Strange as a founding member, the team wouldn't need more magical heavyweights to get the job done, but Hellstrom has aided the Defenders against plenty of heavyweight villains, including the demonic Satanish. Strange has even consulted the son of Satan on other matters. Daimon's first-hand knowledge of Hell's hierarchy alongside his powerful magical abilities have proven invaluable time and time again. Perhaps his most important team-up came from his sister, who has the very subtle name Satana. Unlike Daimon, she was raised in Hell, but has also fought for good more often than not. It turns out that being the spawn of Satan doesn't mean you have to be evil. It just means you have a pentagram-shaped birthmark on your chest. Daimon Hellstrom is headed to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it seems. Hellstrom, an upcoming Hulu series, will be the first entry into Marvel's new Adventure into Fear franchise. The series, starring Tom Austin, will follow the sibling pair of Daimon and Anna Hellstrom, children of a serial killer who track down bad guys on their own. Given their comic book pedigree, it seems likely that the duo will eventually discover their serial killer parent is a bit more complicated than they realize. We don't yet know how closely this show will tie into the MCU, although the upcoming Doctor Strange sequel is certainly going to be ramping up the supernatural content of the universe. What we do know, however, is that the series has plenty of sinister and spectacular source material to draw from. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite MCU heroes are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.